Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday edition of VOM Live, presented by the Voice of Morgantown Network. Thank you for joining me today. I'm your host, Rush Bishop, and as always, thank you for your support. Please subscribe. That really helps us out, and it goes a long way for us and helps us continue the great work that we try to do for you folks. Want to thank everyone again for your support with the Kevin Brown interview. It was an honor to interview him, especially right after Pat McAfee be his first local interview. If you haven't had a chance to see that interview yet, go ahead and watch it. He's going to be a great leader and player for West Virginia football next year and in the future to come. Definitely the start of the makings for a great football team and a bright future for 2026. We are talking basketball, though. I know football has one more game left. However, it's a bye week, and it's perfect timing with the bye week because we have the Charleston Classic. South Carolina, Charleston. West Virginia will be in the West Virginia Charleston later when they play Wake Forest. I believe that game's on December 6th, but going to go where the weather's a little better the weekend before Thanksgiving break, and there's a lot to break down with this tournament and the West Virginia team itself. There's potential. Well, we know we're playing Clemson, and then, of course, the following games either going to be Georgia or Xavier. All three of these teams, should be all four, but all three of these teams were in the tournament last year. Obviously, we know we got screwed there, but this has the makings to be a very good tournament. A couple of the teams are struggling a little bit to start this season. Definitely have the ability to capitalize on that. Like I said, we'll get to that in a second. The biggest storyline going into this game is that Chance Moore, the 6'6", 210-pound fifth-year guard, played on the Bonnies last year, will be making his debut for West Virginia. He had to sit out the first 5 games, and now he'll be at least a rotational piece, in my opinion, in my prediction. He will be in the starting lineup before we know it. I think he has fantastic numbers, and I think he has a very strong skill set that can help us in the starting lineup. And I mean, the only guy that we're missing after this, obviously, is Jackson Fields, and his is an injury, wrist injury, and we hope to get him back soon. But you know, the pros and cons, of course, of player coming back, right? Pros is this team clearly needs bodies, and we need more depth, right? The first 5 games started out, I'll say, a little rough. That can happen to start a season in any sport, as we know. But I think the Pitt game was a game where they really took off. And then, of course, they closed it out earlier this week to go 5-0, but this is where their first test is really going to begin, especially Clemson, a team that's been very successful these past couple years. And when you have a guy like Chance Moore coming into the lineup, a guy that can make an impact right away and a guy that can be a potential starter, there can sometimes be that initial, like, how do we handle this? The team right now is kind of has their way of doing things, right? Obviously, it's early in the season, and as time goes on, they're going to break down more. And then, of course, you need everyone who's capable and can make an impact out there. But with someone like Chance Moore that could be an eventual starter, we'll see how him and Eagle Staff see what Hodge does there. I think Eagle Staff, as I said time and time again, that he's more of a specialist. He's talented, and I think he's done better these past couple of games. But that's someone. I don't mean this in a negative way, but I think that's someone that does a lot better coming off of the bench, where you have someone like Chance Moore starting. But the starting lineup is what it is now, and obviously guys are clearly gelling. You want to do well in this tournament, and so you're probably going to work Chance Moore off the bench. Get his reps in that way. And as the season, I'll say, progresses, or I mean, it could even be sooner rather than later. I think as he kind of plays his way back, gels with the team, you can see you might be able to start seeing that natural shift of Eagle staff and more. We'll see. Maybe it works out where it's better that Eagle staff starts and more comes off the bench. Obviously, you got to get your rotations, got to feel for which guys work better together, and see how they progress. And Hodge will. I think he's a very capable coach. Will figure that out and get it right. So these guys are used to playing a certain way. Obviously, they all practice together. I believe Chance Moore is able to practice, just can't compete in the first 5 games. So games are different, though. I think he will be a much needed piece, as I was alluding to earlier. They just got to kind of get used to him playing there, and it's too bad you don't have like a Lafayette or a Lehigh or one of these lower mid-major type teams to get him, get those rotations right in the lineup, and you have to start right away with a Clemson. So really excited he's coming back. High expectations for Chance Moore. Like I said, hopefully we get Jackson Fields here, any game now. My guess it'll probably be a couple more weeks that they want to make sure that he's a full go. Obviously, basketball is a game where your wrists are everything, even if it's your non-shooting hand. It's not like football where some positions they can just, especially on defense, right, put a cast on there, make a club out of it. They really want him healed up and right. And I think this is, you want to obviously do well in the non-con, but the Big 12 is what it's all about, and performing well in that conference. You do well in the Big 12, you'll have a really good shot at making March Madness. But moving on to the teams that we're facing in this tournament, like I said, you got Clemson and then potentially Xavier or Georgia. All these teams were in March Madness last year. Georgia was a 9 seed. Clemson, they were that 12-5 game. They were a 5 seed, loss to McNeese. And then Xavier played Texas in the first 4 as they were both 11 seeds. Ended up losing the game after. 2 years ago, Clemson was in the Elite 8. We know that historically they're not the best basketball team. All the resources go to football. However, NIL era, you're able to kind of build up your other teams. And so Clemson is starting to come on as a basketball program, and they're showing that they definitely need to be taken seriously. ESPN Analytics has them favored in this game about 60-40. We'll see what the spread comes out probably here soon. They usually do that with it in college basketball. It's usually a day before the game. So by the time this video is out there, it should be out there. My guess is I'm going to say Clemson is probably going to be favored. I'm going to say in the low 2 possessions. I'll go 3.5. Hopefully I'm wrong, but we'll see. Just a total guess that I pulled out kind of off the analytics that I've seen with this team. But a team like Clemson and a tournament like this is a real opportunity to make a statement. I think other analytics programs out there, the Ken Palms, all those, there's a million, it feels like, when it comes to college basketball, right? Has this game some others have it, at a 50-50 type game. And if they're able to go down to Charleston, I mean, it's the home state, Clemson is in South Carolina. So I expect there to be a solid amount of Clemson fans there. So you might be dealing with kind of a little bit of even though it's a neutral site game, a road type of game. But if they're able to go down there and make some noise and somehow escape with a win, obviously I want to win whoever we play after Clemson. But if they're able to win this first game, just keep the second game close. That's a major win within itself. This is how a team really gets on the map and makes some noise. You have these next 2 games coming up against, Power 5, Power 4 teams. And then you have Wake Forest and Ohio State after this. But these, until the Big 12 part of the schedule, these are going to be the toughest games. That's my guess. So if they're able to figure out a way to go 1-1 in these games. And let's just say their one loss is kind of comes down to the wire. Last team who has possession wins the game, or it's, kind of that foul-a-thon at the end where the score is not really an indication of the type of game it is. Have your expectations high for West Virginia, especially as they expand upon having Chance Moore back in their lineup. You get other guys coming back and they can build upon their rotations. I mean, this team really, I think, has the makings to be kind of that West Virginia team that we're used to. It's not going to be press Virginia, but they'll pick you up, in at half court. They'll try to beat you defensively. I mean, would I like our offense to score more points? Yeah, but I mean, they're doing a great job of holding teams to the lower end, especially that Pitt game. That Pitt game was fantastic. So I have a lot of faith in this team. I was worried after that Campbell game, for example, but it was early. I get that. Obviously, the question when it comes to basketball, especially in the Big 12, is if they're able to sustain it. But, you do well in a tournament like this. You start building that confidence and you get your feet under you and you feel like you can beat anyone. So if they're, like I said, beat Clemson and then, play in the championship game, have a fight there. Actually, I think Clemson's going to be the hardest team they play against. I know they lost to Georgetown, earlier this season, and, Xavier has had some tough, start to the season. Georgia's 5-0 like us, but Georgia hasn't played anyone. So even though these teams have had recent success, maybe they're not the teams that we've seen of late. And maybe West Virginia is the best team in this tournament. So we'll see how it's still early in the season for everyone. So we'll see how these teams start going after one another, but find a way to go 1-1, keep both games, or at least the game you lose, close. And I think there's really some great things ahead. Really, really looking forward to this one. Like I said, Clemson's had a rough start to the season. I know they're probably going to be favored in this game, but I mean, they lost to Georgetown. So, we'll see. The second game itself, whether that's for the third place or first place, I'm not as worried about that game as, like I said, this game here. Obviously, you can play one game at a time. I am kind of happy that these games, usually I feel like, we saw it last year, these Thanksgiving tournaments are usually during Thanksgiving. I think they've done a good job of pushing them up a week. And I think that Thanksgiving time can be a little bit of a distraction for folks. So I think this is perfect time. And then after this tournament, they have a week rest till their next home game the following Sunday. I think that's 11:30 in Morgantown. So this could really be the start of a special season. And I think this tournament, while it may not answer all of our questions, it's going to answer a lot. And the biggest thing is getting Chance more acclimated to the rotations in this team and seeing the kind of weapon he is and that can be used. So again, looking forward to tomorrow and what lies ahead. Would love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to put it in the comments. Again, please subscribe to the Voice of Morgantown network, and we'll talk to you guys again real soon. Everyone have a great weekend. And as the holidays approach, happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and safe travels wherever you may be. Thankful for all of you. That's all I can say. So let's go Mountaineers and let's beat Clemson. See you guys.
So Morgantown, we break it first. WVU pride, we quench your thirst. No spin, all truth, loud and proud. Mountaineer nation, say it loud. The Voice of Morgantown. VOM, Mountaineer pride, we go all in. First to the facts, last to the spin. It's the Voice of Morgantown.